Hello everyone. Today Saudi Arabia stands proud as one of the most powerful economies on the planet. This nation is a powerhouse when it comes to extracting crude oil on a massive scale. Not surprisingly, its crude oil exports are exceptionally high as well. In fact, Saudi Arabia commands a massive share of more than 17% in the global crude oil market. This very resource fuels a staggering 90% of the entire Saudi economy. Over the past 50 years, the country has undergone an incredibly rapid transformation. Yet, if we look back, there was a time when the entire landscape of Saudi Arabia consisted of nothing but endless deserts. Step into the present, and you will see a skyline packed with towering skyscrapers. Today, Saudi Arabia boasts some of the most cutting-edge infrastructure in the world. Significant societal shifts are happening too. Just like men, women have now been granted the freedom to pursue activities such as driving and sports. A nation that was once defined by its rigid regulations is actively updating its legal framework today. Watching them adapt to modern times is truly a positive sign. When you think of Saudi Arabia, you mostly picture the wealthy sheikhs who reside there. The citizens here possess an incredible amount of wealth. In a race to outdo one another, they constantly purchase ultra-expensive luxury cars. On top of that, the local population has a massive fascination with gold. It is even quite common for the sheikhs here to keep ferocious wild beasts, like lions and leopards, as exotic household pets. However, if you go back roughly a century ago, the reality in Saudi Arabia was completely different. It was only in the year 1938 that they struck oil and uncovered their first oil mines. That breakthrough moment marked the beginning of a complete turnaround for the nation. But what exactly was life like for this country before that pivotal discovery? That is exactly what we are going to dive into in today's video. We are about to show you a side of Saudi Arabia that you have never witnessed before. Because of that, make sure you watch this video all the way through without skipping a single second. So let's not waste any more time and jump straight into today's episode. Back in 1932, King Abdulaziz founded the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. In that era, the nation's vast oil reserves lay completely undiscovered. Before stumbling upon that liquid gold, Saudi Arabia was actually ranked among the poorest nations on earth. Back then, the local inhabitants survived on incredibly basic raw food. They managed to get by day to day through traditional farming practices. During that period, their primary focus was cultivating date crops. Alongside farming, they heavily relied on herding camels and sheep to sustain themselves. People lived in simple dwellings constructed entirely out of mud. Many locals also worked skillfully as sculptors. Beyond that, a thriving natural pearl trade existed in the region. This was because coastal inhabitants would dive into the sea, taking on the dangerous work of searching for pearls. In those days, many citizens of Saudi Arabia migrated to Eastern and Western nations to take up domestic household jobs. Doing chores like washing clothes and cleaning houses became a standard way of life for them. Alternatively, they found employment as hard laborers. Right around that same era, Mecca emerged as a sacred pilgrimage destination for Saudi Arabia. Within the Islamic faith, the Hajj pilgrimage holds a deeply revered status. Consequently, Saudi locals began earning an income by providing services to the steady stream of pilgrims arriving from every corner of the globe. For many years, this remained the primary way of life. Water wells were scarce, found only outside a handful of homes here and there. Because it was an arid desert environment, these wells gradually started drying up one after the other. Furthermore, reliable electricity was virtually non-existent across Saudi Arabia at the time. Even as late as 1950, no dramatic improvements had taken place in Saudi Arabia's overall standard of living. We know this because during that exact year, a prominent American doctor arrived in Saudi Arabia to provide medical treatment to King Abdulaziz. That doctor was named Kane. He possessed an intense passion for photography. No matter where his travels took him, he always brought a camera along. He was so obsessed that he would even sleep with a miniature camera model strapped to him. While he was in Saudi Arabia treating Abdulaziz, he snapped a series of photographs capturing the daily life of the country. A few of those historical photos have survived to this day. When you examine these pictures, it becomes crystal clear what the living conditions in Saudi Arabia were actually like during that era. Looking at these snapshots, you can see that people relied heavily on camels to transport their goods. Merchants used to set up primitive storefronts right on the dirt roads to sell their merchandise. Even so, commerce in Saudi Arabia during those days was incredibly limited. To move water from one location to another, people had to rely on heavy water tankers. Eventually, locals transitioned from mud houses to constructing homes out of stone. The roads back then were in a truly dreadful condition. People had to endure an immense amount of hardship just to meet their basic daily needs. However, everything took a turn after 1976, when a massive boom in the crude oil industry triggered a wave of change across Saudi Arabia. During this period, the nation aggressively scaled up its crude oil output. Utilizing the massive influx of wealth generated by these sales, the government shifted its focus towards social development. Even so, Saudi Arabia committed a number of missteps during this era of sudden wealth. Flush with unprecedented amounts of cash, the Saudi Arabian government began handing out heavy food subsidies to its citizens. Simultaneously, a massive portion of the population found direct employment within the oil fields themselves. The path Saudi Arabia traveled to reach its current global status was far from a smooth ride. This is because the nation found itself locked in frequent, long-standing hostilities with Turkey. Stepping back into the 7th century, the expansion of Islam was spreading rapidly throughout the Middle Eastern territories. As a result, vast numbers of people embraced the Islamic faith. This spiritual shift gradually brought widespread recognition to the Arab people. This newfound identity transcended social classes, applying equally to the impoverished and the wealthy. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia was actively working to expand the borders of its kingdom. Once the First World War drew to a close, the nation began actively searching for hidden oil reserves. In 1922, a mining engineer from New Zealand named Major Frank Holmes was tasked with the responsibility of hunting for oil reserves in the eastern region. Unfortunately, his efforts did not yield any successful results. Later in 1920, an American engineer also put a tremendous amount of effort into locating oil reserves within Saudi Arabia. Even though his personal endeavors didn't strike gold, he successfully uncovered solid evidence proving that massive oil reserves likely existed beneath the surface. Then in 1932, oil reserves were successfully struck in neighboring Bahrain. This monumental discovery immediately accelerated the hunt for oil within Saudi Arabia. By 1934, a dedicated team of geologists resumed the intense search for oil deposits. Ultimately, in the year 1938, an American company finally struck oil successfully. By 1939, construction was officially underway on pipelines designed to transport this oil. Today, no one actually possesses the precise data on exactly how much oil remains buried in Saudi Arabia. This mystery remains because the Saudi government keeps these specific statistics top secret. According to official declarations from Saudi Arabian authorities, they still possess up to 250 billion barrels of oil in reserve. Nevertheless, many experts find these specific metrics hard to believe. As it stands today, Saudi Arabia's entire economy remains heavily anchored to oil. However, the nation could face serious complications in the days ahead. This vulnerability exists because countries across the globe are steadily cutting back on their oil consumption year after year. To shield itself from this impending shift, Saudi Arabia implemented a new taxation system. In tandem with this, the government rolled out its ambitious Vision 2030 initiative. They are currently pouring immense energy into boosting their education and tourism sectors. For a clear example of this strategy, look no further than Dubai. Today, Dubai's economy relies on the oil industry for a mere 2% of its revenue. This is because Dubai generates the lion's share of its wealth directly from a booming tourism industry. The IMF has formally cautioned Saudi Arabia, advising the kingdom to rein in its expenditures and pivot decisively towards sustainable development. Ultimately, only time will tell how effectively Saudi Arabia can break its addiction to oil and successfully diversify its other economic sectors. Share your thoughts on this topic in the comments section below. If you found this video valuable, please give it a like and share it with others. To make sure you don't miss out on more content just like this, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon right next to it to turn on notifications. Let's catch up again in our upcoming video. Thank you so much for watching.